Hello, my friends. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Joe Theodore, and it's an honor to be here with you today. Thank you for tuning in. Now, today I want to talk about Mercury going retrograde this coming week. This is a highlight of the week. I would say this is probably the only transit I would like to cover, and it is a pretty big one because we are now in Sagittarius season, and of course, we will now have a double retrograde opposition happening between Mercury and Jupiter. Jupiter, as we know, is occupying Gemini, and that has been retrograde for a little over a month now. Yes, a little over a month, with its own bag of tricks and stories. And if you, of course, look at where Gemini is in your life, you may kind of already know a couple of those details. Jupiter, obviously a guru, a wisdom teacher, a planet of expansion, good luck, abundance, of course. So really, depending on what's going on in your life there, can greatly dictate on what Jupiter is doing. And Jupiter actually is in detriment in Gemini, which means it doesn't really like the mutable air. It's a little too much at times. It could be a little chaotic and all over the place, and things may expand, may go in directions that are unpredictable. And as far as how we communicate with ourselves and others can be greatly influenced by Jupiter, but sometimes beautiful moments and miracles can happen while Jupiter is in Gemini. And a lot of that would have to do with communication. And so that being said, now Mercury has been occupying Sagittarius and moving direct motion since the beginning of November. And that really has a lot to do with how this retrograde might unfold, okay? Because we have to analyze what November was for you, of course. Now, on the world stage, we're going to see retrograde madness like the world has never seen before. Of course, this channel isn't about any sort of geopolitical matters, but Mercury started its pre-shadow literally like 2 days after the US election. And I'm sure while we go backwards in in retrograde motion, as it retraces its steps, there's going to be some noise, I'm certain of. And if you already look at what's going on in the media, of course, my friends, you can already see what some of these stories might be. We don't need to get into details, of course, on that, but no matter what side of the aisle you're on, I don't think we can deny the fact that this is a very kind of chaotic time, politically speaking, and when it comes to what these retrogrades really represent, I would say there's a lot to unfold in the future, of course, and even going beyond what November has been all about. I think we're really in a phase right now where a lot of these transits are setting up a lot of future manifestations. And whatever happens between now and I believe the springtime is going to be very, very monumental for how the beginning of the age of Pluto and Aquarius actually begins. Because to me, Pluto and Aquarius, which is now in full effect, as my last video was all about that, we are going to see the complete and utter steamrolling of what an Aquarian age involving the shaman of the zodiac, Pluto, is really all about. And personally, from having really hopeful ambitions and really and a lot of optimism for the age of Pluto and Aquarius, I'm actually seeing this as a massive transition period that very well definitely will consume the first 10 years of its cycle. But as far as what 20 years brings, we shall see, my friends, and we shall see what goes down geopolitically speaking, okay? And I'll be real with you guys when the time comes in certain respects, and I'm sure things will happen in the world that are maybe out of the realm of politics, but just as far as general events that seem to kind of affect everyone in a not so political way, we're going to talk about it. And essentially what I'm talking about is one little word, and that is called war. And I'll get real with you guys at a later date on my thoughts around that, because when we talk about the big outer planet shifts, Pluto being the first one, obviously, which is the anchor of this entire era for 20 years we'll be entering. When we get to Uranus and Gemini and Neptune and Aries, which will come in the next 7, 8, 9 months, we'll talk more about that. Unless things start popping up out of the ground. But these retrogrades that we're dealing with now, because this is a huge moment. This is huge for collective matters, of course, and of course you, right? We need to look at where Sagittarius is in your life. We need to look at where Gemini is, because these oppositions are going to work together in a very big way. So this isn't just like a normal Mercury retrograde where we're looking at one particular area of our life. Obviously, wherever you have natal placements to this particular retrograde cycle will greatly influence other things that might come into play for you. But when we talk about other planets that are transiting, this is very, very important. So aside from things that in your natal chart can be affected by, we're talking about oppositions to Jupiter. And this is also a moment of mutual reception between both of these planets. Mercury will be in, Mercury rules Gemini, and Jupiter rules Sagittarius. So that's what mutual reception is all about, as many of you know. And if you don't know what that is, my friends, essentially it's when a planet is occupying another planet's sign and they're somehow making an aspect. So Mercury rules Gemini, and that's where Jupiter is, and Jupiter rules Sagittarius, and that's where Mercury is. And they're having a very intense moment. And they've been having a pretty intense moment while in direct motion. Mercury has just been moving along in Sagittarius, applying stronger and stronger oppositions. And now we're going to have that retrograde happen. And we're going to see Mercury begin a journey backwards. And we will see what the initial events are for ourselves and what triggers that. Because at a certain point, Mercury will retrograde far enough back where it's not making oppositions anymore to Jupiter. But in this initial retrograde moment, the day goes retrograde, right? We're going to have a couple of days where the oppositions get stronger and stronger and stronger, and then it moves on back towards, I believe, 6 or 7 degrees, which is where Mercury will station direct again in mid-December. So Sagittarius, we all know, mutable fire, Gemini, mutable air. This means that between fire and air, we're going to have chaos. We're going to have confusion. We're going to have more stimulation and more unpredictability than maybe we would like. But if we can use these energies in the proper way, if we can do the work and see what is arising, then we will be better off for it, of course. In my opinion, retrogrades always put us into a state of review and reflection so we can progress somewhere at a later date. And that's very important to keep in mind, because in my view, all of astrology, especially on a personal level, like when I work with clients or when we talk about natal horoscope astrology, everything we go through, karmically speaking, every retrograde, every transit has been predetermined, pre-birth, and in this current time-space reality, which we were born into. So every challenge is an opportunity. Every retrograde is a moment of reflection and review and reconsideration and problem solving, essentially. And with Mercury, we're dealing with thought, we're dealing with intellect, we're dealing with communication. And there's always a path that brings us to the correct path, right? There's always a shift and pivot that can be taken place. Even if that shift and pivot is putting something to bed, ending something, right? It really does. We really don't know what the outcome needs to, we don't really know what the outcome has to become until we are in the thick of it. And I would say that if you look close enough right now at where Sagittarius is in your life, where Gemini is in your life, you should already kind of feel the forces, the challenge, the uncomfortableness between them both. So that direct motion, as they've been applying in opposition, probably has already showed you the story. Now, the retrograde is going to be about the problem solving, the refiguring out things, the reconstruction, the course correction, or just at the very minimal, contemplation, right? Because Jupiter retrograde is all about self-reflection. Jupiter is wisdom. Jupiter is expansion. Jupiter is blessings. Jupiter is abundance, of course, in the sign of Mercury, which is about communication in the mind. So there's a lot going on with Jupiter and Gemini, and you've been dealing with this transit since June, essentially. And you should already know what's been going on there for you. And something hit a speed bump, right? There was a bump in the road. There was just a moment in time recently, as of October, where subtle reflective thoughts and moments and things could be going on in your life, where for the course of months, right? Jupiter stays retrograde for 3-4 months. This slowing down and reflecting around what is unfolding in that part of your life. So again, retrogrades are an inner journey. It's a thing that it's a problem, or it's a circumstance we must figure out from the inside. Then it becomes an outer manifestation and experience. So again, a very physical problem can arise, a physical speed bump, a physical slowing down, but only when we go within can that be solved, right? So with Mercury involved, we've been now adding another energy to the mix when it comes to Jupiter's story. And now, of course, Jupiter applying its lessons or its issues or concerns or reflective moments, like whatever that story is about, is now being influenced in a more communicative way, in a way, sort of. So again, really just depends on what your story is, right? In both zodiac signs. Now, Mercury, when it goes retrograde and when it makes its way backwards, by early December, it will be having a Kazmi with the sun. So we're going to have a moment where something very powerful will be revealed to the world, I believe, and also within your retrograde story. So I'm actually looking forward to the Mercury Retrograde Kazmi, which I believe is happening on December 6th. And that is going to be, I think, a defining moment within the retrograde story. Not so much what Jupiter's doing, because again, when Mercury goes far back enough and out of its direct opposition with Jupiter, it's going to start unfolding its own story. There's going to be like other things going on in Sagittarius for you that are just going to be more of the highlighted story. But when that Kazmi happens, that's going to be a powerful day. And that's actually 2 days before Mars goes retrograde as well. So again, Mars going retrograde is a whole other bag of beans, and we're already starting to feel the slowdown, and we're already starting to kind of intuit and experience what Mars retrograde is going to be for you. So again, wherever Leo is, I'm sure you're kind of maybe already feeling some kind of, some kind of way, even though a lot of us could be very, very activated in Leo. It's just with Leo and Mars, while Mars is preparing to go retrograde, I just think there's a lot of inner meditation that can come with that, And for some of us, yes, Mars will prevent maybe actions from being taken. Maybe someone wants to do something, they're desiring something so badly, but there's just something that prevents that. Whatever the circumstance is, it's just a restriction of movement that can cause frustration. And that is on various degrees of the spectrum of emotion. And then when it goes back into Cancer, of course, whatever Cancer is in your life, that will be the Mars retrograde story there. And again, we're just talking about a stunting of action, whether we want to move somewhere, we want to move closer to something, we want to move forward, we want to progress in a particular area of our life, we want to connect with someone or something, and for some reason, Mars action movement won't allow you, for whatever reason. And that slowing down in conjunction with having a Mercury Kazmi while Mercury's retrograde, while another week or so Mercury will still be retrograde, this is just a profound snapshot in time. I think for your Mercury story, you'll probably have a lot of clear insight on something. Maybe that's the day or the moment you truly get some clarity on something, right? On the world stage, maybe something big will be revealed. The sun will illumine something involving the mercurial. And this could be a breaking news story that's on a magnitude which is very significant. Not that like every day doesn't go by and there's some massive news story right now, of course, with the American political moments. And now there's more stuff going on in Europe with certain things. But again, like these transits sometimes can just point to something louder than usual. So it's important to just keep that in mind. But Kazmis are favorable for the most part, I would say, in our own personal life. It's a supercharged event. And I feel while in retrograde, we're talking about potentially the clarity around something, in my view. So that's also a big part of this Mercury retrograde story, is that Kazmi. And then what else is going on, guys? So really, the retrograde story for Mercury is the flavor of the week. And it will go direct again, December 16th, I believe. And that's when we'll really be in full swing of Mars going direct. It will still be in Leo, or Mars going retrograde, in Leo still. And as that goes retrograde, it will be continuing to make stronger oppositions to Pluto, which again, that is like the huge story as we get closer to early January. So a lot going on, my friends, a lot going on. Now, everything else going on this week, yeah, I mean, we still have a lot of stressful transits going in the sky. I mean, Venus is still in Capricorn, and we're dealing with Venus in a very Saturn-like ruled Earth sign. We're definitely a Saturn-ruled Earth sign. So Venus has not necessarily been able to truly express herself in her highest potential. But at the same time, Venus has been able to take advantage of maybe building something. So again, building a foundation, maybe around love or pleasure or something. And of course, wherever Capricorn is in your life, this could be maybe where those themes are very much associated with. I know a few people that are going through this transit, some clients that I've had, and a lot of their Venus transit at the moment is really creating a foundation for something that they enjoy. So it's almost like, okay, I love this thing, and now I'm kind of trying to figure out like what's the best way to build a foundation, right? And we need foundations to everything. A foundation within a relationship, a foundation within someone's business, right? Like, what are you known for? What do you want to build from? You need the foundation in order to build up, right? Are you and your partner on the same moral and ethical framework? Are you operating from the same frequency? This Capricorn Venus moment can be providing energy that allows that to be reciprocated and communicated in a particular way. Saturn likes discipline. Saturn likes to be very much oriented in something solid, while Venus just wants to love and express itself and be beautiful and enjoy. So the merging of the two is very important. So Venus Capricorn transits are essential, obviously, like all transits are. So yeah, that's kind of the other thing that's just continuing to happen. Saturn is now direct, as we talked about last week. Neptune is still doing its thing in Pisces, which is not helping any of the collective delusion and confusion. And yeah, Venus was making some squares, I believe, while it was still in Sagittarius, right at the time at the end of, or the beginning of November. So there was some, interesting extra delusion, extra confusion maybe around certain themes involving the tail end of Sagittarius. So again, whatever was going on in your life at that moment in time, that square could have been either pleasurable for you, or it could have been a little like, whoa, I feel like a little foggy right now, and I'm not really sure how to make of this situation, or like, oh my God, something just happened in the world, and everything just seems like not real. And I know that there were some really big conspiracies around, Elon Musk rigging the election, for example. And I hope that no one comments anything about that right now. I shouldn't have even mentioned that, but that's a good example, my friends. A lot of people kind of immediately, in some super hardcore left-wing circles, were very much discussing that, right? How there was some kind of interference. And, if we really want to call a spade, if you want to, yeah, you know what? I better not. I was going to mention something with Twitter, guys, and maybe you already know what I'm thinking there. But again, Venus square Neptune. We're talking about confusion of information. We're talking about confusion around something that involves involving a woman, involving a female figure, right? A lot of people were very confused that Kamala Harris lost. Right. So again, I have to use the specifics of certain things when I see them, right? No matter how you feel about certain political things. That was very real. A lot of people were shocked that she lost, honestly, because a lot of people really thought she had a good campaign. Well, maybe not people who were on the right. They maybe thought that she was going to lose the whole time. But my point is that square was very active at the tail end of the election, and it involved a very feminine essence, which we know she was a feminine female a candidate to be president. But for a lot of us, that transit was interesting before it went into Capricorn. And ever since it's been in Capricorn, we're talking about building foundations, right? Trying to make sense of stuff, trying to get serious with something that can be grown into something beautiful. And that's how I've been looking at Venus in Capricorn, honestly. Just something beautiful needs to be expressed, needs to be built, right? And what's the foundation for that? All right, my friends. Well, that's all I have for you today. I think I said everything I wanted to on Mercury retrograde and how important this is for this current moment in time. As always, where is Sagittarius in your life? What house, topic, theme of life is this? Where is Gemini? They're going to be talking to each other. There is going to be lessons between them both. I'm sure you're already seeing them because I can tell you from my experience, I already know what my Gemini story is while Jupiter was direct, while it's retrograde. I absolutely know what Mercury's all about in Sagittarius. And I absolutely know that the oppositions from them both is a little frustrating right now. And it's definitely just something I can't wait for to be over. But the lessons are there. I know what it's trying to tell me. My reality is very much being reflected through these transits. Do I know the answers to these things? No, not really. But do I know patience will bring me these answers? Absolutely. So yeah, my friends, that's all I have for you today. Hope you're well, and I'll see you next time.